What's going on, everyone? It's Simon, and today we're taking a look in my bags. I'm finally answering the questions of what I take overseas with me when I go to these crazy places right now. Alright, we're gonna jump right in, and first off, what I'm usually using for my carry-ons right now are the Think Tank Photo Airport International. I have this one from 2011. It's a workhorse. I've beat it up. It's gone overseas with me a ton, and it still works beautifully. And then I also have the F-Stop Gear Lotus, which is their 30-liter bag. This is my little guy, but this is what usually goes around with me walking around whenever I'm overseas. So to start, we're going to dig into the Think Tank roller. So we're going to set this off to the side, bring this bad boy right down. The Think Tank Airport International is the bag that goes with me to get from the US over to where I'm working, and then it kind of stays at base camp. This usually carries the FS5 and some specialty items. I'm going to flip this bad boy open, and you can see right away the main thing in here is the FS5, which is sitting right here. This is my workhorse video camera. Usually when I get to a location, I'll build this out and it never goes back into a bag. So a lot of the stuff in here is peripherals to build out the FS5. Coming right over onto this side, we have my Atomos Shinobi monitor, which is the first monitor that I found that I really think I can use overseas. This hasn't gone overseas with me yet because it's a brand new product, but I'm excited to get it over there. It's daylight viewable, which is huge because a lot of the time, especially in like Burkina and Mali, where it's sub-Saharan Africa, there's a lot of sunlight. So having a very bright monitor is huge, and also being a 5-inch monitor makes it small and lightweight, so it's not taking up a ton of bag weight or bag space. Also over on this side, I have the Zoom F1, and this is my backup audio recorder. I also have the shotgun attachment, which allows me to use this to go record ambient sound in a field, that kind of stuff. But at the same time, it's super, super small. It goes off of AAA batteries, and then it records to a micro SD card. So it's another thing that doesn't take up a ton of space, but it's a really powerful little tool that I can use for getting audio, quality audio, and then also as a backup in case something else breaks. I'm going to set this off to the side because I got to get into what's under there. Also on this side, I have a backup variable ND filter. If I'm shooting video on the A7 cameras, then I need this in the front. This is just a spare because one of the things when I'm traveling overseas is the places I go, I can't get replacement gear if something breaks, so I do have to bring all of my redundancies with me for if or when something does break. Then sitting down in that pocket as well, we've got more batteries. This is a FS5 battery, and then batteries for the Shinobi. The Shinobi runs on the Sony NPF batteries, which I absolutely love running stuff off of those because not only are the batteries small, but the chargers are small as well. Moving right up here, we've got the side grip and then the top handle for the FS5. Those, again, just getting everything over there is key with this bag. Getting everything over there in one piece safely, I should say. Then moving over to the middle, I've got the 18-105 f4G lens from Sony. This is a good lens. It's not my favorite lens. There's sometimes I found that it's not quite as sharp as it could be, but the versatility of it and the size of it, the cinema version is a lot bigger and a lot heavier, so it's kind of one of those trade-offs. Do I want to save the weight, or do I want to have that little bit better look? I might change that later. I don't know. With where my kit is right now, this has been my go-to lens. Also in here we have the 90mm macro, and the reason why this sits in this bag is because I don't need it all the time. There have been situations where we did need details. When I was in DR Congo, we were shooting macro of the coffee plants and things like that, where we're getting some of those details that we couldn't have gotten with other lenses. Up in the top of the bag, I've got the FS5's memory card wallet, and then the Rycote shotgun mount for the microphone, which we mount onto the FS5. Again, getting things over there and then being able to set up. I also keep a former gift card wrapped with gaff tape. That way I don't have to carry the whole roll, but I keep one of these in every bag, which is super convenient because you never know when you're gonna need gaff tape. I also, actually with that too, is I keep a little key ring on it so I kind of hook it onto a carabiner. I'll typically keep whatever keys I need on me on a carabiner, so that way I have it nice and available, right ready to pop off. Also on the top, I've got the Sony RX100 Mark V. I love this camera. Once I get to a location, it pretty much lives in my pocket, and I do a lot of behind the scenes. I actually use this as an action camera a lot of times. I know it's not what it's meant for. I should probably have an RX0 for that, but it is what I use it for. And the manual functions on this, the time-lapse interval abilities, that kind of stuff, makes this a fantastic little camera. It also shoots 4K, I can shoot log formats. Yeah, it's expensive for a tiny camera, but it is what it is. Next, my audio kit. My base audio kit, it's, again, part of what I love doing is building out so everything can quickly assemble or disassemble. My receiver is actually a quick release plate so that I can quickly mount it onto the FS5. And so when I get to the location, we're able to get up and running pretty quickly. A lot of times we're building out in between things. We don't have a ton of time. And then this just has all of the spare batteries and everything like that for the audio specific kit. Right now I'm running Sennheiser G3s. They have been my workhorse for multiple years. They're an industry standard and they just work. Right below that is the Mavic Pro. And this is the first version. I've debated upgrading so that I can get the hyperlapse mode, but this has been a workhorse for me since 2017. It's a small enough drone that we can get it into the places. It also doesn't fully look like a drone when it's packed up, especially if you take the propellers off. So if someone's questioning you, you can kind of work your way around it. But at the same time, it does have a really quality image for its size. And we're able to show the locations we get to in a unique way that they wouldn't be able to show otherwise. And one of the coolest things with the drone is actually showing the local people where they live looks like from the sky, because a lot of these people never leave the villages that they've been in. So the ability for them to see their home from a different vantage point is an incredible opportunity, and it also lets you open up dialogue with them because you're able to have a conversation, and that's half of it. Yes, we're using translators a lot of times, but it's all about getting the trust of the community so that you can tell their story in the best way possible. And then get that down there. RX100 batteries and memory cards. As you can see, I keep everything for my memory cards kind of isolated based off of the camera. And then we've also got more batteries. We've got Mavic Pro batteries and then another FS5 battery down there. What I keep in the lid changes. I don't have anything in here right now. That goes project specific. But one thing that does always stay is I always keep a couple Allen wrenches that work for tripods. And so that way I am able to fix that kind of stuff when it breaks. That is all for this bag, and I'm gonna throw everything back in here right quick. And then zip this up and off to the side. Now for the F-Stack. In the Lotus, we've got the main compartment, and I have a large ICU, and that's because I'm carrying a lot of stuff in it. What comes out first usually is the Sony a7 III. This was a recent upgrade from the a7S II, but this is the most powerful camera that I found for a mirrorless camera. And I always keep the 24-105 on it because I think that that's the most versatile lens that's out there right now, especially with the optical stabilization. Yes, you're losing a stop of light over the 24-72.8, but it more than makes up for it with that little bit of extra range, because especially if you jump into Super 35 mode, you're able to get almost the equivalent of like a 150mm lens without having to change your camera. And that's super, super helpful. I also keep the DJI Ronin S plate on here, which is one of the cool things about that is that I can also use this on the glide cam. And then you will notice that all of my cameras use the Peak Design straps with their anchor system, and that is something that will come into play in another video as well. So stay tuned for that one. Then we've also got a mix of Sony and Rokinon Cine DS lenses. So I have 3 of the Rokinon Cine DS lenses. We have the 85, which is my favorite lens for B camera for interviews. Then we've got the 35, which I like for, I'll do an A cam on the FS5, which makes it the equivalent of like a 50mm lens. And that's great because I'm able to have a little bit of a punch in if I want it to be a tighter interview, but it's not too tight. And then the cool part with this is that I can put it on an A7 to shoot Astro if I need to. But a lot of times I'm actually jumping out to the 24 Cine DS when I'm doing those night to day time lapses. And if you pay attention to my Instagram and stuff, I have a time lapse on there that is of a water tower and a radio antenna that starts at the stars and then goes to daytime. That was this lens with the A7 III, powerhouse combo there. Then if I want to do some wider stuff with a glide cam or a Ronin S, we have the 16 to 35, and then that is the one. This and the 85 are the only 72mm thread lenses I've got, but I do carry a 72mm thread variable ND, just because I like to be able to go direct onto it, because I have found some issues with vignetting using most of the lens step-up rings. We also have my powerhouse for photo, the A7R III. I absolutely love the image that comes off of this camera. I fell in love with the R2, borrowing it from Sony for a project a couple years ago, and I knew I had to have the Mark III just because the Generation 3 cameras have enough upgrades that it's worth doing the jump from the Gen 2 to the Gen 3. That's just my personal opinion. I carry a slew of the Sony batteries for the A7s just because I go through them a lot, especially if you're doing a lot of time lapse. And also, if I don't know I'm going to be able to charge, it's easier to have extra batteries and not need them versus wishing that I had the ability to keep shooting, or I have to like gauge how much I should shoot to save battery life. Then going on to the other side of the bag, we've got the Rode Video Micro, which I prefer this, and I almost carry this exclusively now over the Video Mic Pro because I don't need another type of battery. The Video Mic Pro, the one that I own, takes a 9-volt battery, and so by the time I carry a few 9-volt batteries and charger and that kind of stuff, it's already a bigger microphone, and this gets me good enough audio for what I need out of it. If I'm really trying to get quality audio, it's going to come from the FS5, so this has been a powerful little upgrade, and it's also super cheap. Below that is the 70-200 2.8, which is another workhorse lens of mine. Honestly, if I had to go out with 2 lenses, it would be the 24-105 and the 70-200 2.8. If I had to go out with 1 lens, it would be the 24-105. This just lets in enough light to be able to do a lot more stuff, and that's why I like that over the F4. And then up in this top corner, we've got our other memory card wallets, and one of the things that I'll talk about in another video is why my memory card wallets are all color-coded. Then we've got the Litra Pro, which is a really powerful little light that is actually bicolor, and I absolutely love this thing. Might have to do a video on this one myself. Let me know in the comments if you guys want a video about the Litra Pro. Super powerful, and it's actually like crush proof. Then we've also got my other variable ND filters. These are my main ones. I keep a 77mm and a 72mm because those are the 2 filter threads that I use. Shazam. Alright, get everything back inside the main compartment, and that's what we've got here. Then on the sides, I keep my other Peak Design strap and then a big USB bank. The reason why I carry the big boy USB bank is because I've actually had projects where I'm charging A7 cameras off of this, and that's saved my butt because there's been situations where the power source that I was charging from didn't work for a day, so we ended up having to charge stuff off this, which will let us keep shooting without having to slow down. Then on the other side, I keep the Rode MTG4 Plus. that is my workhorse microphone. I've been looking at possibly downsizing this one to a smaller, more compact microphone, but I want to make sure I'm maintaining the quality that I'm looking for. So that's something I've been researching. I don't know 100% what that's going to change to. This has been a great mic for me so far.
Get back in your home.
Alright, so now we shift up to the top. And in the very top, I keep a Think Tank Photo emergency rain cover. These are fantastic because they're super small and lightweight, but yet they do not take up a ton of space, and they're super, super durable. I had been carrying the like plastic bag ones, which are single use and really terrible. Much, much better, and they're super cheap too. I always carry a headlamp, which comes in super handy more often than you would think. And then I don't carry over ears when I'm traveling because they just take up a ton of space. But I have these sweet in-ear monitors from Shure. And then thanks to Levi Allen, I actually used shrink wrap and or shrink tubing, whatever, and put my iPhone dongle onto the cable so I'd never lose it, because I guarantee I would lose it at some point. Then this bag's gaff tape cards. I also do sometimes carry color, which does come in handy. Then I also carry the Aperture F7s, which is another bicolor light that is Sony NPF battery. And the thing I like about this is I will carry 2 of them, and then I can actually, because of the way that they've got quarter 20 threads all over, I can put 2 of them together to give myself a larger, brighter source, which then makes it a little bit easier to shoot interviews, especially in brighter situations where I need to control the light and kind of add more light versus trying to create light. Those come in super handy because they're super tiny, but they're insanely bright. And then I just keep one of the little diffusion cards on the front of that as well. So yeah, that's what's in the bag that goes with me every single day. Leave a comment below if you want to know anything more about what's in one of these bags. And then be sure to stay tuned in the next video, because I'm going to talk about what I use as far as stabilization and tripods and that kind of stuff that goes into my check bag.